Welcome back to the Humans Against Poor Scholarship interview series. Our guest today is a PhD student who was awarded $2,000 by the Humans Against Poor Scholarship Summer Research Grant, and they are back to report on their summer of research, what progress they made in their PhD, and what their next challenge is. For more information about H.A.P.S, the academic version of America's Got Talent, please visit www.hapsfund.com. Hello everybody and welcome back to Digital Hammurabi. We are beginning again my favorite part of YouTube, which is talking to H.A.P.S students and H.A.P.S scholars. Today I am joined by Samaria Devine, who is a student at the University of Georgia, and she is focusing on the Hebrew Bible. So I'm going to bring her in now. Samaria, hello, thank you so much for joining me again.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Oh, no, it's a delight. So as the introduction said, we spoke in, March or April time, sometime in the spring, about your research, and then the donors enjoyed your work so much that they thought that, hey, we should give this woman some money. So could you tell us what you applied for funding for?
Yes, so I had a conference. The Society of Biblical Literature has an international conference each year, and I sent in an abstract, and that got accepted. So I needed the money to travel to South Africa to present my research.
Excellent, thank you. And before we get deeper into this, I should have opened with this particular question. I think I told you I was going to open with this question and then completely forgot. What is the focus of your PhD research?
Yes, so I'm a Hebrew Bible PhD student, and so I am focusing on King Solomon from a post-colonial lens. I'm looking at colonial policies in Nigeria and trying to present a critical view of King Solomon as similar to the colonizers and the policies that took place in Nigeria.
So for those who maybe aren't aware, can you explain what a post-colonial lens would be?
Absolutely. So, a post-colonial is looking at areas that have been colonized and focusing on the colonized as opposed to the colonizer, and reading things through that lens, through the lens of those who have been suppressed and impacted by colonial policy.
So when you're looking at the Hebrew Bible, obviously we don't have an awful lot of archaeological evidence. We can't say, oh yes, this was absolutely Solomon's temple, or that kind of stuff. So you're restricted really to the texts that we have in that document. How do you use those in terms of a post-colonial investigation?
Yeah. So the interesting thing about the text is they won't say they won't say the part of the people who they don't want to expose, essentially. And so when you're going in from a post-colonial perspective, you're like, okay, whose story was not told? So we understand Solomon and David, they were able to get all of this territory, but then what is the impact story? And so, of course, like you said, we can't say with 100% certainty, but if Solomon is presented as this wise king whose only fault was having several political marriages, as someone who looks at policy, in say Nigeria, I'm like, okay, there's a lot more here that he should be criticized for than just the political marriages. So it's largely looking at whose story is not told, and the potential impact that the things we do know he did, according to the text, say.
Thank you. So how then was your summer? Did you make it to the conference?
I did make it to the conference. So, yeah, my university did give as much funding as I had hoped. So HAPS really came in handy to make sure that I had everything that I needed to enjoy the conference. Half the struggle is financial. Like, you have all these things that you want to accomplish, all these talks you want to go to, but when there's that financial strain, it's hard to even like fully immerse yourself in the wonderful opportunity that these conferences present. So because of HAPS, I was able to make it to the conference, and last, we got to hear from different people. Of course, there are always talks that I wish I would have gone to but couldn't go to because everything, the schedule is just hectic, I think, at conferences. So you can't go to everything. But from what I was able to experience, it was a great time. I would do it all over again if I could.
That I love academic conferences, and it's it's surprising, I think, when you see the conference schedule, especially if you've not been to one before. There are like 6, 7, 8 sessions running at the same time, and there might
Yes.
be a paper, 2, 3 papers in each session that you really, really, really want to go to. So you kind of end up bouncing around in between rooms, a bit like a popcorn kernel, right as
Yeah.
it pops, trying to catch as much of the really fascinating stuff as you can. And you always miss something. It's really not possible to see everything. Um,
Yeah.
and yes, for those who have not attended academic conferences, they are really expensive. You've got, I mean, not only the travel to the conference, and yours was in South Africa. Mine are typically in North America. So you've got tickets to
Mm,
South Africa. You have to pay obviously for the hotel, for all of your food, and like
yes.
all the other just little bits and pieces of expense that really do add up. And even if you get some funding from the conference itself, if you're presenting a paper, sometimes they'll give you like a stipend or something, or money towards travel, and your university might give you a little bit of money. But it's very rare that you find one source that's able to provide enough to cover all of the costs. So
Absolutely.
it's tricky.
Yeah, and I think
So
what made it a little worse was that so because it was in the summer, my university said, "Oh, well, you'll have to pay for most of it up front, and then we'll decide what we can give you on the
oh,
back end." So I didn't know what they were going to give me, and it turns out that it wasn't much. So again, I'm very grateful to have had this fund.
the reimbursement model is very prevalent in academia, and it assumes an awful lot of financial stability on the part of graduate students who usually don't have any financial stability. So you're kind of stuck putting all this stuff on whatever credit card or debit card you can put it on, and then just kind of hoping that someone somewhere will give you your money back. And it's like, I don't know if I'm actually going to
Right.
get this back in a timely fashion, if at all.
Mhm.
What was your paper itself on? What were you presenting at the conference?
Yeah, so I think it was called A Tale of Two Partitions. So I was looking at the partitioning of Africa and then the impact that it had on Nigeria with the administrative list of Solomon and what might have taken place. Might have been the impact of such a partitioning on others.
Excellent. And do you feel like it was well received? Did you get some good questions after you presented?
Okay, so that was quite the experience. So I was the third person to present on, I think, the day before the conference ended. So I wasn't expecting a large crowd just because it was the last presentation of the day, but we had quite a few people. And right after I finished my presentation, everyone was quiet. So that was really nerve wracking. And so
Yeah, that's a bit intimidating.
yeah, very. And so the presider said, "Okay, well, I guess we don't have any questions." And then someone in the audience said, "Wait, I think we're all really just trying to think through what to ask." And then there were I would say about like 4 questions and then some comments as well. And it turns out the presider actually had worked with some of the same things that I was working on. And at the end, said, "Hey, let's keep in touch. If you need anything, let me know." So it was a very encouraging experience, which sometimes at conferences, but with this one, I'm very grateful to have had that type of an experience.
Oh, I'm so glad. I am so glad. And it's very nerve-wracking being up there, and then is someone going to ask a question you can actually say something about? Is it going to be completely off the wall? Is it more of a comment than a question situation? And you're like, yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm really, really glad that it went so well for you.
Yeah,
For
that's
people,
always my fear because I can read through my presentation as many times as I want, but I can never anticipate what questions or comments. And as a graduate student, there is always this like fear, okay, the people in the room know more than I do about my own topic. I still have that very real fear, and so it's very nerve-wracking.
did you have sometimes? I suppose it depends on how big the field is. Sometimes before I go into a room, I have a vague sense of who's there and what kinds of questions I might get. Did you have that sense before you went in, or was it like I have no idea what's going to happen here?
Yeah, so all I knew were like the other presenters and the presider. So those was all the information that I had. Yeah.
Well, I'm really, really glad it went well. For people watching, if you have questions for Samaria, we will be taking those at the end. So please do put them in the chat. Make sure you tag me at Digital Hammurabi so I see them. My final question for you, Samaria, is what are the next steps that you have to take on your PhD journey?
Yes. So the next big step is finishing the dissertation. So I'm able to get quite a bit done over the summer, and the conference helped with that because it just inspired me to write a little bit more in my trip. So I'm finishing up the dissertation and then defending. I'm also teaching a couple of courses right now at the university. So yeah, that's what the next few months look like: teaching a little bit more, but more writing, and hopefully defending in the spring and graduating next semester.
That is very busy and very exciting.
Yes.
Congratulations. It's so nice to hear about people getting like the finish line is in reach. You can get there.
I know. I'm like, "Oh, I hope I don't jinx myself by mentioning it," but I'm
Fingers
working
crossed.
really hard. So yes.
I feel like once PhD students get to the stage where they're willing to say like this semester roughly is what I'm working towards, you're probably going to make it.
Close enough. Yes.
So we have a couple of questions, one serious, a couple not so much. So Ezra wants to know, are these conferences like medical conferences when you party when you're not in presentation sessions?
Um, no, it wasn't. If it was, I definitely didn't know about the party. But no, I think I had the most I had was like dinner with another, well, she's at a university right now, so she's an assistant professor. So I had a dinner with a couple of folks, and that was the extent of my partying.
I think the most I've done after a session, I did go to the bar with some of the other presenters,
Yeah,
but that was kind of it. No one drank an awful lot because we were all like working the
yeah,
next day. But yeah, it's nice to kind of see everyone, and especially I think once you've graduated or once you've left a university, it's conferences can be really fun because it's the hub where all of your cohort is more likely to gather.
exactly.
So it can be good to see old friends there. Doodle Dabble says that the artwork behind you is beautiful. I
Oh, thank
concur.
you.
We like a good bit
Yeah.
of artwork here.
Yeah.
Ezra also is asking, is there a link for the presentation? I am assuming it was
No,
not recorded.
not recorded. No, so unfortunately not.
But thank you for your interest, Ezra. And we have a final question from Stupidor Energy. Did growing up in Liberia influence your approach to your research? And was it challenging dealing with negative stereotypes surrounding African religious practices?
Okay, this is a good question. So yes, absolutely. I went into my PhD knowing that I wanted to incorporate some type of either African traditional religion or just African experience into my dissertation. So it absolutely influenced it. Challenging negative stereotypes, yes. So I've been trying to do more like stuff on TikTok because that's that's where everything is great. But I think there's more of a negative stereotype outside of the academy than academy. And so I the future will be challenging than my present, especially if I decide to do more public scholarship. And so I'm already anticipating some struggles there. Now, as a scholar and as a librarian, like I see more similarities, especially with Hebrew Bible, than differences. But I don't know that everyone else will see that, especially the audience that I have, which would be like Christian audiences. So yeah, I see more challenges in the future than the present.
Well, Samaria, thank you so much for your time. It's been really nice to hear how your summer went. I wish you all the best
Thank
with the
you.
rest of this semester and next semester, and hopefully with your graduation.
Yes, thank you so much. And thank you guys for all the questions.
Absolutely. Well, you have a wonderful day. Audience, thank you all for watching. Thank you for your questions. Again, if you are unfamiliar with H.A.P.S, more information can be found at hapsfund.com. And we will be back, I believe, next week with more H.A.P.S interviews. So please stay tuned.
Bye.